Hello, thanks for joining me on Life and Surround. The year is now 2020, and this is Operation Quad Station. Alright, so Operation Quad Station, what is this? For the last year, I've been reviewing surround music and covering various topics of interest related to surround music, and I've been monitoring mostly through my home entertainment system, which is mostly definitive technology with a little bit of Polk integrated into it. It's oriented toward 5.1, and I've built it up to include the capability for Atmos and RO3D. Last year I did a review of Chicago's Quadio box set, and I determined that I felt the 5.1 mixes for Chicago 2, Chicago 5, and Chicago 10 were a bit better balanced on my system than the corresponding quad masters. This caused me to wonder, because my system is oriented toward 5.1 as I said, whether I should try to set up a dedicated quad station so that I can give quad recordings a fair shake. Also, through reviewing 9 Inch Nails' Downward Spiral and comparing the SACD to the dual disc version, which has a DVD audio layer, I found that when I output SACD as DSD, my system doesn't employ bass management. This caused the DVD audio to sound fuller and more powerful on my system than the SACD. When I played the SACD as PCM, they sounded almost identical. This led me to wonder if I want to listen to SACD as native DSD, which I think you should if you can, whether it would be beneficial for me to find full range speakers so that bass management wouldn't need to be employed. So let's go take a tour of Quad Station. So here you see an overview of the room. Up front are the Klipsch KG 5.5s. To the sides are the Klipsch KG 5.2s. The seller of the 5.5s threw in the vintage matched center. One of the woofers didn't work, and he thought I might be able to repair it. I opened the thing up, and the left woofer was not wired whatsoever. Wasn't soldered, so it may have come loose over time through rigorous playing, or that woofer may have never worked out of the factory. He also convinced me to take the matched vintage subwoofer off his hands, so it's over there on the right. Here we get a closer look at the left 5.5. And here's the 5.5 on the right hand side. And in the surrounds we have these 5.2s. And back here at my computer and mixing desk is where I'm able to access menus for DVDs and Blu-rays. SACD's autoplay, of course. And to get Operation Quad Station up and running, I've pressed into service my Oppo BDP 103, which is hardware unlocked to be region free, by the way. You can get the hardware unlock on eBay for $50–60. And a Sherwood RD705i. It doesn't seem to know what DSD is, but I'm outputting SACD from the Oppo as PCM anyway, so that's not a problem for now. So I got really fortunate, and through a bunch of research determined that I wanted to try to find some floor standing speakers that were full range. And because I'm relatively happy with the massive Polk center channel that I have in my home theater system, I started by looking at Polk towers. I went and auditioned some locally, and I just wasn't liking what I was hearing. My center channel is pretty old, and maybe Polk just isn't making things like they used to. I also auditioned some new Klipsch hardware while I was at it, and also didn't like what I was hearing for the products in my price range. It's been a long time since I've gone and perused Craigslist, but I decided to give it a shot, And lo and behold, there were two sellers offering vintage Klipsch floor standing full range speaker sets. I did some research to see whether KGs were desirable or not, and it turns out that they have a very passionate, loyal fan base with lots of good things to say about them. So I got a hold of the sellers and made appointments to go test out their speakers, and I really liked what I heard. The KG 5.5s have two powered woofers and a tweeter that plays out of a horn, while the 5.2s have one powered woofer, a passive radiator that looks like a woofer, and again a tweeter that's augmented by a horn. I think both sets of speakers sound great, and I'd have to say that I think the 5.2s are a little bit smoother and may be my preference. Either way, I think it was the right way to go, looking for used vintage gear. I checked them over carefully to make sure that the rubber and the foam and everything was intact, and fortunately everything looks pretty good. I think these speakers pack a punch way above what I would have been able to afford on a budget shopping for new stuff at retail. Besides that, I think they look super sexy. Alright, so I want to address two questions right off the top. First of all, some of you are going to be wondering why I don't have the four main channels in a diamond or a four corners configuration. This speaker placement is awfully close to what you would do for a 5.1 setup. I originally thought that I was going to go four corners because that's how I've seen classic quad advertisements and speaker diagrams suggest that you should set things up. However, my room presents significant complications with trying to put speakers at all the corners, and that drove me to do a little bit of research just to see what my options were and what would produce optimal sound. Coming upon this site by Wendy Carlos, formerly Walter Carlos, who famously has done the Switched On Bach quadraphonic recording, among others, and through reading all the information contained here, decided to follow her advice and go with the configuration that I have adopted in this room. Her argument is that this creates more balance and fewer gaps in the sound field. So when stuff goes whizzing around the room, it shouldn't jump from front to back and so forth. The other question I want to address is whether I'm ever going to upgrade the amplifiers. Right now I'm just using the amps that are on board the Sherwood, and I'm just going to be content for now and see what that gets me. I will keep an open mind about augmenting the system with external amps in the future. Alright, so I just wanted to share with you my excitement over Operation Quad Station. This has been quite a while in the making, and once I set about really trying to make it happen, it came together very quickly. I feel very fortunate that this morning I get to fire up my inaugural run, and I'm choosing the Doors Best Of, and I'm gonna go with the Blu-ray version because on my HTS this is what I mildly prefer in terms of mastering, but I may compare it to the SACD as well. They're both really great. I know a lot of you already have it. It is definitely a quintessential flagship quad offering, and we're lucky that we have it on SACD and Blu-ray. So I'm gonna go fire it up. I'll be sure to report back how enjoyable that experience is, and in the meantime, don't forget that if you appreciate what I do, subscribe, like this video, leave your comments below. Let's share pictures of our quad systems on the Life in Surround Facebook. Let me know what you recommend in terms of suggestions for upgrading this setup. Your own stories of quad goodness. I hope you're having a happy 2020, and until next time, live life in surround.